Not mine, but my
Somebody.
father's.
Mm.
So therefore mine.
All right, y'all. Um,
Okay.
I think that we should get started.
Not mine, but
Welcome, Jeff.
my father's.
Hi.
So therefore mine.
Can you hear me? All right, y'all. Okay.
I'm getting
I hear you
feedback.
fine, but there's a back echo
I
for the last few
think.
things Nora said.
Okay, is that better? All right. Um, so first of all, hooray, Lorraine's going to share today, and Lorraine is awesome, and I'm so grateful. And I'm so glad, Nora Jeff, that you're here. I know that it's a little tumultuous. It's been a little few days of me not being able to complete what needs to be done. So thanks for rolling with it. I am very excited about what's coming, but I'll tell you another time. Either of you just have a word or a phrase for what you're looking for today in this conversation for yourself? You'll be doing energy while we talk, and then you'll be sharing and asking questions later. So and Lorraine too, we can do this too. What is the gift for you in today? And just popcorn out when you're ready.
I don't have any one word. I'm pretty wide open for whatever lands.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. Miss Nora, do you have a word or phrase?
Um, Freedom to be happy and empowered.
Mm.
Love it.
That pretty much covers it, Nora. Wendy, shall I just start with the ideas I wanted to kick around, and then you can
Do you have a word or phrase for what you're here for today, Lorraine?
I'm here for freedom.
Yeah, baby. I'm here. I see to allow my vibration to change, which increases my grounding. I see that I've had a block about how big my energy can be, and that's part of why I've been tripping lately. I need the energy to do what I'm here for. So allow bigger, allow more. That would be freedom, permission. Okay, so
Wendy, could I just add one other thing?
yeah. So it's a minute or less.
Yeah, minute or less. Happy, not as defined as euphoric, but happy as whatever happy is,
Yes.
and learning what happy is.
Great.
Like it. So Wendy had reached out to me to say, let's throw around some ideas, maybe a couple anecdotes or personal concepts or experiences about freedom. And I was thinking, like, where have I been stuck? Or let's say when I met Wendy, and I still love right and wrong. And someone told me that in some mythology, God has four daughters, and they're truth, justice, peace, and mercy. And most people are either truth and justice or peace and mercy. And it's great to be in all four, but usually it's like truth and justice. Peace and mercy can be something when they visit you in prison, you know. But first, the rules. So you might have all heard this before, and you can all raise your hand if you hadn't, and I'll switch. But there's a story of four monks that had a vow of silence, a vow of chastity. They were never supposed to touch a woman, and they had to go from like 10 days from one place to another. And on the third day, everyone was of course silent, and of course they weren't touching women. But they came to a river that was flooded, and they had to cross it. Right, Nora?
I'm listening. I don't know this one.
Okay, I'll make it brief because I saw two notes.
Okay.
There was a woman with a baby who was struggling to get across the stream, and the monks were going to cross on foot, but they were tied together with ropes, so they were a little safer. And without saying anything, the last monk in the line swooped up the woman with the baby and carried her across and set her down on the other side of the river. And 2 days, 4 days, 6 days, 8 days went by. And when they got to the next monastery, the head monk of the four of them, the leader of the four, said, I just have to say something. You should not have touched that woman. You should not have carried her. You've broken the vow. And the monk said, well, I actually put her down 8 days ago. You three have been carrying her since. And the moral of the story is the judgment that we carry is our personal burden. And so I have had a really hard time figuring out how to say someone's okay until I realized I don't have to say they're okay. Saying they're okay is just another side of the coin of judgment. I just have to accept them where they're at and try to get further away from the Western dichotomy of good, bad. They're good, they're bad. They have to be really good. Jump higher, jump higher. Now you're good, which was my whole childhood in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Like, shame on you, good girl. You're going to be in one of those two all the time, the doghouse, or yay, I'm so proud of you because you did everything you told, let's train you for obedience and then wonder why you live the way you do. So what I found out also through some of the meditations and the time with Wendy, and then obviously going on my own, is I finally figured out that the reason it's, for my personal experience, the reason it's hard to forgive is because I still need something from that person.
Amen.
So if you get to a point where you don't need something from them, whether it's their approval, their health insurance, their whatever it is you think that they owe you or that they should have given you, once you don't need that, then you can just let it go.
Oh my gosh.
So that was, and part of the why this has to do with freedom is because, as Wendy used to say, where you're judged is where you're hooked. And I'm like, I don't like that. I want a judge to be discerning. I want to know right from wrong. And I'm a deeply moral and conscientious person. My daughter-in-law put a thing on my fridge that said, now I can't remember the 3 words, but it's something like you are loving, kind, and reliable, or something like that, but included reliable. Like, that's a value that they know that they can always come to me. And that matters a lot to me. But it doesn't have to be based on I'm better than anyone. I can have the freedom to just be myself and not live in comparison. And part of the judgment is comparing, and part of the comparing keeps you trapped, because if you're in the race, you have to go on the track, right? So being able to be like, oh no, I'm not racing today. I'm just going to be over here, like Fernando under the tree. I'll be sniffing the flowers. You go on and chase the red thing that's supposed to make you mad and then to kill you. Like, this is not a good scenario. This is not a good game to play where you get enraged and then you have your, aneurysm or whatever. So I feel like freedom for me has been moving toward getting less weighed down with burdens. And my main burden was worrying. And worrying can be described as trying to solve problems that are not happening, which is quite impossible because they're not happening. So you can plan the next 10 moves in chess, but you don't know what the next move is going to be. And there isn't an infinite number, but there's awfully many. And so thinking about, what if something really hits the fan? What if somebody breaks in right now? Would I run out? Do I have this? What if the house catches on fire? And it's usually not those kinds of worries. It's worrying about the people I love. That's my main thing.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing them as giving or allowing for their freedom to do what they want, to do what they shouldn't do, to do what I think they should do differently, or in other words, to live their own lives, to have their own agency. That's a big release. And that gives freedom to me and freedom to them. And it's interesting because my father is from Finland, and there's all these global, what do you call it? Census type things where they question people around the world and then they collate all the info and compare people in different countries. And one of the comparisons was asking kids in their 20s, True or false, one of my most important goals in life is to make my parents proud. And in some places like Turkey, it's like 89%. And Finland had the very lowest, it was 18%. And the parents were like, hell yeah, I had my life. They're having theirs. I don't want them to make me proud. That's not their, I am proud of them, but it's not their job. That's like me trying to live their life. This is my turn. I don't get a do-over. And so it's really interesting how different cultures have a feeling of who owes them what. I gave you a body. My mother-in-law used to say when she was drunk to my husband, I brought you into this world and I can take you out of it. I'm like,
Out of it.
it's actually a crime, but let's not even discuss with someone. Don't talk to drunks. But yeah, to not need something from people or to need less from them, to expect less, not like, oh, they're going to let me down, but to be like, they can be exactly where they're at. And someone who was
Oh my God. Yeah.
dealing with a child who had a lot of behavior problems, she said, I had to dial back because I realized I was loving him for his potential and I wasn't loving him where he's at.
Oh.
And I realized I was letting him down because I saw what I thought he could be. And it's like, I love you, but can you get to where I really, really could love you? Because your potential's over there. And it's like, no, today's child is the one who needs your love. Today's child needs the freedom to take their next action in a safe and loving embrace. So all of these things for me. And then what Nora's talking about, how to do, like there's there's what you do and there's how you do things. And I've worked in prisons, I've worked in hospitals. I don't have the personal belief that you choose your life, you choose your parents. I think I'll be sexually abused for 6 years. I think I'll be starved or dunked in the toilet when I'm 2 because I put my pants on my dad's psychotic. It's like, I don't believe in that kind of level of choice, but I do think in our daily lives that we're living here out of a war zone, almost anything we do in the day can be done joyfully or resentfully. And I know people who I have to take my daughter to the dentist today. It's like, wow, I get to have my daughters get the care she needs. And I'm so glad that we have dental insurance so that I can, oh God, I got to get groceries. It's like, I'm going to make some really nice meals for myself this week. Oh, fuck, I have to mow the lawn. I have a beautiful yard and I'm going to go out and mow the lawn. It smells so nice, and I don't
Yeah.
mean Pollyanna, but there's a lot of room for giving yourself the freedom to be joyful in the moments as they come up and and part of the freedom for me also comes with the laughter of laughing at ourselves. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I locked my keys in the car and then this and that happened. And it's kind of an adventure and it'll be funnier later, but I know it will be funnier later. Like travel stories, you almost get killed and then it's hilarious about 10 or 12 years later. And everything we're doing could be looked at through the lens of, I know later on, this won't be a big deal. It feels big right now. And then safety to me is a big value. And I heard Wendy talk about safety, safe and sacred space. And I do feel just like kids who are scared don't play. They just kind of stand and try to figure out what the heck is going to hit the fan next. And making your situation as safe as you can so then you have the room to play and you have the freedom to play is really big. And yeah, and giving others around us, as Wendy does so marvelously, the freedom and the safety to speak their truth and to be vulnerable and to say, I went through this and I haven't dealt with it very well, or I think I have, and I want to find out more. That's something where we can kind of spread that freedom by just allowing people to be themselves in our presence is huge for whoever it is. And I was working with someone who was very despised because he was the guy in the park who'd whip out an erection in front of little kids, and everybody just wished he was dead. And other interpreters who were raised Catholic were like, he should be castrated, he'll never make it to purgatory, anyway, I was just completely neutral with him, and he was scary looking. He had one blue eye and one brown, like a husky dog, and I'm sure he was terrifying these little Japanese girls at the park, the case I was working on. And in any case, I saw him like 6 months later. I ran into him, and I wouldn't have recognized him except the blue eye and the brown eye. And he said, "I know you." And I'm like, "Oh." He said, "I know you, madam. You were in court with me." And I'm like, "Oh, perhaps I was. I'm an interpreter." And he said, "I wanted to tell you, thank you for being kind to me." And I said, I wasn't really being kind. I was just doing my job. And he said, "No, everybody hated me and you didn't hate me. And I'm in a program now, and I realized what I did was really scary for those girls. I'm trying to find out, I'm trying to figure out and learn so that I'll never do that again. And I wanted to tell someone,
Wow.
but I don't have anyone here because I'm not from here. And I'm so glad I ran into you because I feel like I could tell you that I'm really trying." And I
Wow.
said, "I'm so glad. Thank you for telling me. Good luck doing the things you're trying. It's very courageous of you. I'm hope you can stay with it. And I'm sure it's been really hard for you as well, you know." And just something as simple as neutrality gives someone the freedom to feel like they can be seen
Wow.
and have a positive or healing experience.
Wow.
So, moving away from judgment is a way to allow a bunch of space for all these other things to come into this space where it's like, they're wrong, they're bad, I'm good, right? We're good because we know each other, and the neighbor's bad, and it's a way to build community because somebody's outside, otherwise we don't have a us. Then it's just everybody, right? So we cut people off as a way to be like, we're tight, we're in the center. But yeah, so judgment is a big thing. And then I Nina Simone, I love her and her song where she's saying, "Sun in the sky, you know how I feel, birds flying high, you know how I feel, clouds drifting on by, you know how I feel." And then she sings, "Freedom is mine, and I know how I feel." And I feel like she's talking about nature in a way of saying everybody's living according to their original instructions. Everybody's here doing what they came here to do, and nobody's questioning it. The cloud's not shit. Should I evaporate? Should I rain? I don't know what the hell. Why is that other cloud getting in my way? I can't even be part of the sunset. Didn't I light up red? They're not doing that. And part of us as humans is we're tying ourselves down by constantly questioning what we're doing, what our place is, what it means. And so I love the idea of her saying, "I'm free because I'm just going to be like nature. I'm just going to do things the way I was made, the way I was built. I'm going to breathe in and out and use my lungs. I'm going to walk on my legs if they work." And then the last thing I wanted to say was I was just seeing something by Viktor Frankl, and you probably all heard this, but between the stimulus and the response, there is a space, and that is where your freedom lies. And the freedom I've taken for myself is to have something happen, and instead of jumping in like it's a fire and you're running with a bucket, you're like, okay, take a minute, give myself. I don't have to respond when someone says something or does something, unless it's a true emergency, which is 1 out of 1 billion of the ones we think are emergencies, or our amygdala thinks. And so having that space to decide how we want to respond is another form of freedom that is pretty beautiful. So those are my thoughts of the afternoon here, sitting in 85-degree weather in my basement. And I'll turn it over to Wendy now.
Awesome.
We have
You're
time
so
for some
awesome.
discussion.
Thank you. You're
Thank
so
you.
awesome. I feel like there's so much in what you said. Like that could be, now I see, like you could do like several meditations, right, with people and
Mhm.
work things. You could do probably months of it, actually. So awesome. Thank you.
Thank you,
Do you
Wendy.
guys have immediate things to ask Lorraine or share, briefly about what she said?
I am I'm really struck, Lorraine, by your journey of dealing with in some ways, the shit that this guy in court was perpetrating on kids was similar to what you had received. And so the power and the freedom of you to be able to choose to be above reproach and things, that seems like a really important part of like freeing yourself from the shitty things that happens when you can. So I just I don't know, I'm really sitting in respect to that right now, I guess.
And I was very lucky that I didn't have sexual abuse or physical abuse of that kind. It was more my mom just trying to make her world safe by controlling us a lot because she had physical and sexual abuse. So I guess generational trauma came down. One of my friends who was abused over a period of years, she called her father years later and said, "I know you don't remember the same things that I remember, Dad, but I want to let you know that I forgive you for what I remember." And he was dumbstruck because I don't know. I think that's just the most generous forgiving I've ever heard. Because it was a family who was completely saying, "You're crazy. This never happened. Why would this happen? We would never do that." She's like, "Okay, but I forgive you for what I remember. You know, I want to let it go." So yeah. And the thing is, I mean, for the man I was talking about, he didn't feel great. He wasn't like, "Ha ha ha, I got away with something." He's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe I did that. Oh my God, I'm gonna get caught." And it's like, what's worse than that? You're hurting a child. Everybody's anathema. I'm a horrible person. I'm a monster. And it's not. I think there's a concept in the US that like someone has power and control, and that means they feel great. And I was talking to a psychologist who works a lot with sex addicts, and she was saying, a lot of the wives come in and they're like, "He gets to do whatever he wants," and she's like, "No, he feels this fucking big. He feels about this fucking tall. He's as humiliated as anybody else in the game." And it's hard to see perpetrators like that because we want them to stop, and we feel like they must have some power if they could pull a gun on somebody. So anyway, there's a place for compassion for everyone involved. And it's not always the place we start out at.
I just want to note, and then Nora, whatever you want to say, that neutrality, like everything we do, is a vibration, it's a frequency blessing, it's a being. And then it's also a practice that we practice from inside out. We sit in the center of our heads and we do certain things so that we build the muscle of being able to sit in that place, be that in the world. And Lorraine has done a lot of that kind of thing. And also, Lorraine, I just want to validate how you are so purposefully professional in your work, like above and beyond reproach. Um, and so I just want to validate you on that. So it's like part of it is just that's what you do. Like I don't know how it's changed um before and after tools, but I do know that you are dedicated to showing up and doing what needs done.
Thank you, Wendy.
You have anything, Nora?
Oh, I've got lots, and the words are just kind of swirling around.
Okay. You want to bake in it?
Um, Basically dealing with people where they are.
Yeah.
The very first part, dealing with people who they are. I had an awful experience this weekend with a family member, and it wasn't me. I stayed calm, but it was towards my father. So I'm just going to let it go because that's where they are. can just remember it. And when you were talking about speaking with the guy, meeting the guy,
Mhm.
this actually, when I worked for Family and Children's Services, I usually tried to be very circumvent and not give my own opinion, but evidently I said something that I said in my out loud voice to someone. And I went to pick my partner up from work one day, and someone came up to my car and started knocking on the window. And in downtown Atlanta, you don't open your window to someone knocking on your window that you don't know. But I did. And she said, I know you. I went, okay. And she basically said, you know what? I wanted to file a complaint against you because you asked me why I wasn't working, why all my children are in school and I'm not working. And I said, oh, okay. And I was still working for DFAX at the time. And she said, and then I went home and I was so mad. And then I sat down and I went, why am I sitting here on my ass, not working? She said, I want to tell you that I have a job at Subway or wherever it was. So thank you for being honest with me
Oh,
and making me, you know, and it was like, oh my gosh. She said, I really hated you that day. I left. I was going to file a complaint against you.
Mhm.
And then I went home and I got mad. And then I went, she's right.
Mhm.
And so I mean, your story is way better, way much more powerful. But the fact of being honest and actually letting out your compassion and letting out what you know you could do professionally is important. And I think sometimes we don't give ourselves a pat on the back for acting professionally. So thank you for doing that because you didn't know that you made him because we can't make anybody change. All we can do is what we do. But I think if we have the freedom to be our honest selves and actually show we care, because he saw caring. And I know this doesn't sound like it means anything, but we have to show each other, we have to show ourselves that we care for ourselves also.
Awesome. Thank you, Nora.
So thank you, Lorraine, because that was just powerful and it's just swirling in my head.
thank you, Nora.
Yeah. Sharing our stories is really helpful. It's really helpful. Lorraine, were you translating for that man?
I was interpreting from an open court. Mhm.
Wow.
Because, you were neutral, but you were just saying the truth of his words and their words. You were a truth sayer. You're also being a validating presence in
Mm-hmm.
just saying the truth that was going on. And so that feels like love for a lot of people. A lot of people are so starving for validation, and validation is a huge part of how people experience love. I just want to say that. But, if you were not in neutrality, then that could not come through, of course.
Yeah.
So,
I think just being in non-judgment was what was healing for him.
cool.
It wasn't, I mean, he felt it as if I cared about him, but
Yes.
what it was is I wasn't judging him. I wasn't hating him. I was just there to interpret so he could communicate with his lawyer and listen to the judge and hear what the prosecutor was saying about him and all of that.
I've been in a conversation lately myself. I don't have the answer necessarily, but I've just been noticing how much it seems like judgment is the opposite of love.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah.
You know, can we be with the wholeness that is the oneness that it is? Can we be with it, them and us, or can't we? Can we like go into our intellect and competition and invalidation? It's all tied. And anyway, also, you know, I might have gotten here because Jesus, and you know, I like a lot of what he said. Jesus made it clear to me, not everyone. Everyone has different opinions, but made it clear to me that he was just like, okay, love each other, judge not. Like these are his big things he's saying before he like exits stage left in the narrative. And so I find those tied together. I know that people like other pictures, but it's a picture. So, all right. Is this a good time for me to share a little?
Yes,
No.
please.
Mhm.
I woke up with three big things, so just going to do my best to sail through and see what happens. So we've already said that I just want to context with this month, we're going to be in the resonance. We're going to be resonating with freedom. And that's like a beingness. And then we practice in a doing. And I just feel like it's relevant to what I'm going to say. So I was never getting married. Let me just be clear. Never getting married. I never saw anyone whose marriage I wanted to be in. And I was not interested in having anyone boss me around in general, but also the whole, you know, man and woman and the pictures that we have in our society with patriarchy and stuff. So Michael and I are partnered, and I like partners, like right, like I like partners. Um, so you know, we had a commitment ceremony and stuff, but in my heart, I'm not married. Like that's just not the game I'm in. And I know that some people have different pictures and they're like happy married. That's great. But I'm bringing this up because Michael and I have some shared values, and I've started to really understand over the decades. This is part of why our relationship works because we have some very strong shared values. And the first one I always name is freedom. We have the shared value of freedom. And so that means that he's not invited to boss me around and he doesn't want to, and I'm not invited to boss him around, and um I'm not interested in that. So every now and then we trip and fall because we have pictures. Everyone has pictures, but it's not because we're in a committed partnership. It's because we have pictures. I think that's a little different, but we're working through it. You know how it is. We like to have things our way. Um, and I just also I'll just name another thing. We're both very into like hospitality, generosity, that kind of thing. So I could go on about that, but it's not relevant. So he's actually, it's like he didn't try to do this. Like he's naturally egalitarian. And I don't know. I'm very glad. I don't know if he always was or whatever, but so I'm just so grateful for his way of being, because that's one of the things I woke up with these other two, but then I was just like the freedom that he affords me in the relationship, in our lives together, um like it always is challenging me to step into more freedom instead of the game I see so often, which is like the whole ball and chain game, right? Can't do it because of the ball and chain, right? Like that's some game that's limiting growth and um adventure or whatever. And I have the discomfort of living somewhere else where you know, and it's not only about serving the person. Like my other people in my life are really interested in worrying over me. That's another way to keep me from flying, right? Worrying over me is not helping me to spread my wings and fly. But just like whatever. See ya when I see ya. That is very helpful. So, and we figured this out really early. Um, as soon as like the first week, because we were at a festival, dance festival, music festival, and when we got together. And so we spent a lot of time, and it's just like, all right, this is the, I'm, three times the ways of queer, and I'm this and I'm that. And, the most important thing is that I'm poly, which means, it doesn't mean I want to hop on every pop that goes by, right? That's not what it's about for me. It's, it was more about love than sex for me always, but also it was about my body is my body. End of conversation. My sexuality is my sexuality. And right, like, so I'm just showing, like, I'm bringing the voice because it's just like, these are non-negotiables, right? And not everybody has these pictures. So that is something in a relationship that, I found to talk about really early is really helpful. Um, so anyway, I found myself really grateful about that. So that's my first share. Do you guys want to pop out anything real quick about that? Okay.
Well, I want to just say, I think it's interesting that you're saying that the freedom that you have also was a form of challenge, because most people find it challenging to feel like I want to go back to school, but he's saying it's too expensive, or I
Right.
really like this neighbor, but he feels uncomfortable in me spending time because the guy's crushing on me, and usually it's like I can't do what I would naturally do because somebody won't let me. And you're saying someone saying, do whatever you want to do is like, oh, then I have to be clear on what I want to do, and I might have to do it. Ah.
Yeah, it's not easy. Yeah. But it makes a lot of space for the kinds of things that we're doing here. Like into Teleas, like really blooming into who we are. And it's scary and it's challenging and it's confronting, right? Like there's stuff to handle. And it's incessantly out of the box. And there would be times that, like I found myself in a situation last night I walked into, and it was like there were like eight, all of a sudden there was like eight guys in me and like no one else around. And like I was just like, it's okay. Right. Like, and it's just like some women wouldn't find themselves in that situation um as often as I do. Especially like out in the wood. Like I wasn't out in the woods. I was somewhere else. But um, out in the woods it's mostly guys and I just love it. But there are times I had to take a breath last night and be just like, "Oh, you might have gotten yourself in hot water," but I didn't. Um, but there's just all this stuff that I have to deal with. I'm the adult around here in my skin. So, all right. Should I go on? All right. So, this is an anniversary for me. Um, a few things have happened. July is becoming like a freedom thing for me. 3 years ago, two big things happened. One is that I started doing weekly meditations 3 years ago, the beginning of July. And that was a big step. And I'm going to talk about like why it was so big in the next part. But it was a big step for me to all on my own. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm committing. I don't know where the people are coming from. I don't know how it's going to work, but we're just doing it. And the other thing that happened, like at the same time, is that the pressure of the painfulness of my family's rift, and that I was unable to connect. I couldn't get in. The door is closed for me. For half the family that like is our main family. And it's painful, it's still painful. But I'd been, for my whole adult life, it'd been a thing. But like for a couple years, it'd been like out of control. It was just like I couldn't even, like the door was closed. And finally, like I got some I did some trades, and I had some friends kick my ass, and it was just like I had to stop begging at the door to be let in, and walk off in the freedom that is mine, instead of trying to figure out how I could figure out what it is that I was supposed to be doing and get in. There's a lot of pictures about family, so it was really hard. But what was amazing is that I got, like, first of all, immediately the energy changed, and I was able to have some access to the children that I couldn't have access to for years. That was weird. Like, nothing happened on the physical, but within days, like, I could see my niece, who I hadn't been able to see for almost 2 years. It was awkward and not direct, and no freedom around it, but I got to see her. And the other thing is that I had all this, so I all this pressure of like all the should, oh my gosh, like showing up, if I do get let in, like it's going to be like how much I suck, right? And like I just lived with that for my whole life, how much I suck. But it started to just come off. It's just like I don't have to live under the roof of their how much I suck anymore. And it just was like, it didn't just affect that relationship, it affected all of my relationships, of course, right? Like so much more freedom, so much more ease. Like it was really weird. I really noticed it for a couple of months. How the vibration, the field that we're in with people affects our whole field and all the other people that are in the field with us. And so when I allowed my field to come out of their field, it really made a difference. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it really did. I stopped begging at the door and figuring out how to meet their, whatever it is. And that helped a lot. It helped me heal deeper, helped me clear agreements about what I was willing to put up with, which is how that
Yeah.
whole thing started. Really, it started almost 2 years before that, because I was going to go take care of the kids. And I realized, I can't allow myself to be treated like I have allowed all this time in order to be able to.
Yes.
And it really was just that choice. Like I can't be who I am and have the ministry I have and allow myself to be victimized anymore. And that shift in me, like I didn't really even barely did anything. I said two unacceptable words, and like the whole thing changed. But it was just like, okay, well, I choose. I have to be me. So that'd be freedom. So that's enough on that. Anything y'all want to say before I go on?
I'm thinking about that the what we refuse to accept from others and how we present ourselves. It's such an interesting thing. I almost feel like and I don't want to victim blame here, so I'm talking about this on a really symbolic level and things. But when people are treating us in a certain way, it's kind of like well, can I treat you like a jerk? Yes, you have my permission to treat me like a jerk. And in exchange for this little unspoken agreement we have, you can expect I'm going to act indignant about it. And we create this little like drama and this little play. And
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
when we orient ourselves in a way of like, yeah, I'm not going to be the shit on the bottom of your shoe anymore.
Yes.
We like we're altering the discussion at that like meta kind of unspoken level of no, I'm not in that anymore.
Yeah. And it's very clear.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Hmm. But it's not like a striving, trying,
Yeah,
fighting.
Yeah.
It's just
yeah.
like done.
I'm done with you treating me like shit.
Hmm. It's not
Yep.
happening anymore. Um, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I had this uh real quick, I had this abusive situation on the school bus, in which I was being sexually attacked for weeks on the school bus. And I real quick, I came off the school bus. The guy that I was dating wasn't supposed to be there. He was supposed to be working, but he took off. He sees me crying. He gets it out of me. He goes insane. Rah, rah, rah. And I'm just like, don't do that. I'll do that. And I went back on the bus. The next day, I was empowered. I put up with none of it because I really could. It was middle school. I could have beat up any of those boys, probably two at a time. I was strong and fast and athletic. It was because I was allowing it. And so was the bus driver. And then I stopped allowing it. And I got this much pushback. And then it was over. And that has informed the rest of my life. The way I walk through the world, if it's fuck with me. Nobody fucks with me. So it was a hard lesson, but it was a good one. It's the vibrational change.
Mhm.
So, okay. Ba. You want another one? This is the third one. This is about me being able to teach and being able to set my own vibration for and not be like trying to always tuck behind somebody else, but actually be just like, this is my ministry. This is the vibration. I have to be out front and center. And I just keep owning it more. And lately I'm making another turn. So, and I just want to say that I'm really grateful for the training that I got at CDM, right? I got great training. I got world-class training. Um, and it was very good. And the energy was very good. But there's a dark side. And the dark side dovetailed with my own background, and I didn't even understand it or notice it. Um, I just thought that's how it is, and anything bad about it is because I suck, right? There's something wrong with me. I better get my shit together more. Um, so I made it through that. Uh, but a lot of people were thrown out, and um, I got thrown out right after I completed, and then I was thrown out. I'm just like, dude, like I couldn't hold it together anymore, apparently. But one of the things that were squirrely and it little points to it didn't occur. There's a lot of spiritual freedom there. There's a lot of good things there. But this points to cultish stuff, which is, the whole thing is, and this is a positive thing, and I say this in my own training, like here we play soccer, down the road we play basketball. It's great. Just you want to play basketball, go over there, play basketball. That's great. The part that isn't is that really they are like basically saying we own like this kind of practice and anybody else in this area isn't allowed to do it. Like we get to do it. And if you're doing it not with us, you're a hater. You're a right, like you're you're too competitive with us. So that was really hard. So at first I taught in New Jersey, then I tucked that in Psychic Awakenings. That really helped. Then I was in a time that I was trying to get through the dark night of the soul. But coming out of it, I realized, I started doing online, and I still had trouble. And I tried over the years to tuck into 2 different ministries and everything. And the calling is for me. It's a healing for me to just be like, this is my voice. This is what I have to bring, and not hide behind somebody else. And so, it's been, and that way of seeing it, I see more and more clearly the kinds of parts that I don't think are so healthy about what happened there. But really, it's just a way for me. It's all like blaming it's not, it's a blame in a way. It's like, no, Wendy, you have your voice, be on stage, be willing to talk. And kind of recently, I made another step of that, and that's awesome. So, I mean, it's just in the last couple of weeks. And so it's very fascinating to me that when we came into meditation today, I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm okay. I'm stepping in. I need to allow myself to be the bigger that I'm stepping into, allow to have the more energy, because otherwise things can't hold. I really have to, it's like, okay, I'm stepping in now. Okay, run energy more. So, serious amounts of freedom in this. And as to me, every step forward is a releasing the step back, right? That when we create and store roses, every hello is a goodbye, every letting in is a letting go. And so there's challenge about it. And there's hard things about it, but it's so good to be free and just to do who we are and what we're here for. So I hope that you can relate to that in your own life, about letting go of whatever they say, all the programming and all like that's kind of a theme through these, and also validation and invalidation. So I'd really love to hear what you guys are noticing for yourself, or questions or anything for both of us in this conversation.
I am at, there was a point in my life where I identified that everything is a bunch of roles. And I wasn't quite smart enough to see like it's all kind of a trap, because I then constructed like a super identity over all those identities, but that was just like the same identity all over again. It was like the same thing all over again of yet another constructed identity and the the move for me that's been so very interesting is to like fully engage in the game and feel it like on one kind of level, and on another level know that like drama at work, on one level it's incredibly important, and the things I say and do matter, but sometimes I can just smile that like everybody's playing their part in this chess game. Like they're all like if we're all following our rules, and isn't it just like beautiful to watch all of this unfold, whether it pleases the level at which I'm just simply a principal. So I mean, I don't know. I guess I wanted to share that thought and ask the question of you all, like to what extent are you in these levels of identity, and to what extent are you sort of above when you're finding freedom, like above the games of that level?
What do you guys say?
Oh, well, I may not understand your question, Jeff, but it sounds like part of it is like, does freeing yourself from your ego help you rise above interpersonal situations? And
Yeah.
I think it absolutely does, because if you stop caring as much what people think, and you don't have to protect how you're viewed, then you
Yeah.
can just come out from a different place. And I find a lot of times where colleagues especially have wanted to one up or criticize, and I don't give anything
Yeah.
back that they can hold on to, then they're like, oh, okay. And someone who was just kind of a difficult person at work that no one wanted to work with ended up saying, oh, I really love, team interpreting with you. And I'm like, you've never said anything positive in your life. What are you talking about? But it was like she's so used to butting heads and then someone butting back, and then she knows her role is Billy Goat's Gruff. And and when someone's not doing that, not to mess with their head, but really like, that's okay. It's okay if you think
Yeah.
you're better than me. You're great, and I really appreciate working with you, and I'm learning a lot from you. And then they can let down like when we let down our defenses, we give the other person freedom to let down their defenses. And it doesn't mean they always take it, because it depends on what their game is.
Yeah.
But definitely, I think there's a place where you rise above more when you know those identities are constructed identities. It's not that important that someone has a different opinion than you. And I heard it stated, and I don't know who to attribute this to, but arguing about the grass being green. If someone else can see it, they see it, and you don't need to argue with them. And if the person's blind, you also don't need to argue with them, because they'll never know what green would be like as an experience. And so there's really no one that you need to argue with about whether the grass is green. And
Yeah.
most things are those kinds of arguments where it's really not about your role or whether you're a good principal or a decision you made.
Yeah.
That it's just kind of wanting their opinion to be heard, and you can be like, huh, so you see it as red. Okay. And you don't have to say, well, you're probably colorblind, like you have a problem, you know. So I don't know. Sometimes I think about that
Yeah.
grass is green as a reminder, like they can have an opinion that's not mine. And I used to feel like I really want to enlighten them.
Yes. Yep, for sure.
Couldn't I just guide them toward the light? Get them out of Plato's cave.
Right.
This is not the real sun. That's a candle. That's a shadow. Let's
Right.
go.
Right. Because God knows I'm qualified to decide where everybody is supposed to end up, much
A
more
benevolent,
than they are.
a
Uh,
benevolent dictatorship is absolutely the best form of rule. Absolutely.
yes.
Because you're good and you can get shit done. There's no
Yeah.
question. It's way beyond democracy or dictatorship. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think getting above it to the point where it's not like you're above in the sense that you're better than everybody, but you can
Yeah.
laugh at yourself and them and kind of pull back from the constant defensiveness that like the best
Hmm.
defense is a good offense, right? And then you're back in it. And you come home thinking about what someone said to you, and they went home thinking about what you said back. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I find really, you know how I love the word disambiguating. Um, really making a distinction between, I'll use a different word, between who I am and the role, and allowing the space. Like a lot of people don't do this, right? But just allowing the space for all the different roles, um, really transforms the whole thing. Because once I let space there, then I can let that role have more integrity. I can be more conscious about
Mhm.
it and find more freedom in it, right? It's just like it's not me, it's the role. It's the role, it's the job I'm doing, it's the part I'm playing, and I'm going to play
Mhm.
it full out. And like there's all this freedom because there's space. And also, and it's not me, it's just the role. I just have to get this done and do this thing. And then that leaves space to really play in this place of what is the identity, and allow that to find um more integrity and more strength. And then it's a platform for the role. So anyway, I find that very helpful, and our practice does that, and it's very useful.
This is a tiny side point, but when Wendy was talking, I heard I heard Jeff saying at work when he's trying to remind people that he's not just the role, like, well, as principal, I need to da. Like, this isn't just Jeff doing it. Like, in this role, this is my duty, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is my obligation. But I'm not just the job, so let's remember that, you know.
Yeah.
Also, when you were talking originally, Jeff, I was reminded that there's this great, so long ago, oh God, so long ago, in my 20s sometime, I listened to Ram Dass about, he had this story about, is that you in there? I don't know if you're familiar.
Yes,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
I am.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Right. And
Familiar
so
with
it's
it.
like there's the roles, but then there's
Yes.
also remembering that there's the spark of light behind the
Yeah.
role. And then we're
Yeah.
one, and then we're two, when we're playing our own, we have to, I
Yeah.
have to do this role, you have to do that role, but we can do it with so much freedom and play and playfulness because
Yes.
we know it's just a game, and afterward we
Yeah.
can go out for beer,
Here. Yeah.
pizza, whatever. So I'm happy to keep talking for a bit. It is like 3 minutes after we're supposed to stop if anybody needs to go anywhere. Um, do you guys have any burning anythings? Oh, so grateful that you came. I'm so, Lorraine, really, your share was so rich. There was so much. And a lot of it pointed to what we're doing. The next 3 months, we're really like we're playing with going beyond blame. Um,
Mm.
and then going to what's often under there, which is shame. Then you have to
Oh,
be playing with, clearing shame and invalidation and living in sacred truth. So a lot of what you said really packs in to that.
Thank you.
So I'm going to encourage people to meditate through your share for sure when I'm sharing it. Okay, you want to end with a minute meditation?
Sure.
sure.
Awesome. Okay, so center of head and grounded and releasing any, there's a lot of intellectual stuff, a lot of visual stuff, releasing around the forehead, letting our attention just fall back, nesty plunge back into the center of the head and out of the eyes, relaxing the physical eyes that can't see behind them, and letting ourselves nesty plunge back to the center of the head and letting go around our ears. We heard so many interesting things. Letting our energy fall sideways into the pool, into the center of the head. And just letting go like sand in your hands of all the stuff that's stimulated. In some ways we scraped the bottom of the pot on some stuff, and we stimulated lots of cool information, and just let yourself relax and let go of anything from the past or uncomfortable. And sure, if there's ideas you want to play with them, but play with them from center of head, grounded in ease and freedom. Good. And let's let Nora's information and energy go back to her, like give her some wildflowers, and Jeff's energy back to him, give him some wildflowers. And Lorraine gave us a lot to think about. So give her like several stacks of wildflowers of her information and energy back. Whatever you heard is yours now, and you can play with it. Good. And same for me. Give me my energy back, like just like wildflowers. And now call your energy back from Nora, from Jeff, from Lorraine, from me. Let us all give you flowers. And whoever else is listening in the future, you just ask for your flowers back. All right. Head grounding. Let the sun above you fill you with warm golden light. Oh, and let go one more time. All right. Final things to say, my friends.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. This was really helpful to hear you all and your wisdom.
Yes. Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Miss Lorraine, you want to just go, or is there anything you want to say?